I think I spent a long time emotionally postponing my life, waiting for the fear to go away, waiting for certainty, and just waiting to feel okay again. But what I'm learning now is that life doesn't always wait for certainty. And sometimes you have to learn how to experience joy when life still feels uncertain. I think one of the weirdest parts about long-term difficult seasons is that life still keeps happening in the middle of them. Like today, for example, we genuinely had such a good morning together, and then a few hours later, we left another appointment feeling emotionally exhausted all over again. Today honestly felt like the perfect example of what this season of life has felt like lately. Because we left really early this morning so we could spend a little time together before my husband's appointment. And honestly, the morning was really good. We stopped at this little market way out in the country that I've been wanting to visit forever, and it was honestly so cute. Just one of those peaceful little places that make you want to slow down for a minute. And what's kind of funny is the only reason we even found it in the first place was because of one of my husband's orthopedic appointments months ago. Those appointments are about a 5-hour round trip total for us. So we've made that drive quite a few times over the last several months. And one day, our GPS decided to randomly reroute us without us even realizing it, and took us a completely different way than we normally go. We drove past this little market out in the middle of nowhere, and I immediately fell in love with it. But by the time we had came back through that evening, they had already closed, and then right after that, they shut down for the winter season. So ever since then, I've been waiting for the chance to finally go back. And honestly, it felt really nice finally getting to walk around there after all this time. Which honestly feels kind of bittersweet when I think about it. Because technically, we only even discovered this place because of all the appointments and the drives we've had to make through this season. And I think that's part of what felt so strange about this season overall. How much beauty and grief can exist beside each other at the same time. Because for a few hours, we genuinely enjoyed ourselves, walking around, looking at everything, getting food, just talking, just having a normal day together for a little while. And honestly, moments like that have started meaning so much more to me lately. Not because they're huge moments, but because after the kind of year and a half we've had, normal moments feel different now. A good morning together feels different. A quiet drive together feels different. A normal conversation feels different. And I think difficult seasons really change your relationship with ordinary life. Because you stop assuming normal moments are guaranteed. But at the same time, there's also this weird emotional whiplash that comes with long-term uncertainty too. Because while we were walking around enjoying the morning, the appointment was still sitting in the back of our minds the entire time. And honestly, we did not leave feeling very hopeful. There are still things happening that we're just not getting answers for. And I think at this point, we're just tired. Not dramatic, not hopeless, just genuinely tired. Tired of constantly trying to figure things out. Tired of doctors contradicting each other. Tired of hearing, well, that's rare, or that's atypical. Because honestly, my husband's entire case has been atypical from the beginning. And after a year and a half, I think we're both emotionally exhausted from constantly trying to fight to be heard. Especially because this literally affects every part of our life now. The pain, the symptoms, the appointments, the stress, and the uncertainty. Today, they only agreed to even schedule one epidural, even though he has both back and neck injuries. So he chose his back because right now that's affecting him the most. They prescribed more medication and then basically told us surgery will probably become unavoidable eventually. Which honestly is exactly what we've been trying to avoid this entire time. And I think what's hard about long-term situations like this is that eventually life stops feeling like a temporary hard season and starts feeling like your actual reality. And I don't think people talk about that part enough. The emotional exhaustion of realizing this may not be something we just quickly move on from. This may just be a part of our life from now on. And honestly, I think that realization changes you. Because I used to think enjoying life meant everything finally becoming okay. Everything finally making sense. Everything finally feeling stable. And lately, I'm realizing that mindset would probably steal my entire life from me if I let it. Because if we keep waiting for certainty before we allow ourselves to enjoy anything, we may never fully live. And that doesn't mean pretending hard things aren't happening, because they are. This season has altered our life permanently in a lot of ways. But at the same time, there's still life happening too. Still good moments, still laughter, still quiet drives together, still little coffee stops, still beautiful mornings, still moments where we genuinely enjoy being together. And I think I'm slowly learning that life is usually both. Grief and gratitude, fear and joy, frustration and love, uncertainty and peace. Existing at the same time. And honestly, I think God has been teaching me lately that peace isn't always finally getting answers. Sometimes peace is just knowing He's still with us while we keep walking through the unknown. And I think for a long time, I kept thinking peace would finally come once everything made sense again. Once we had answers, once life felt stable, once the future felt predictable again. But lately, I'm realizing faith sometimes looks a lot less like certainty than I thought it would. Sometimes faith is just waking up every day and continuing to trust God while you still have questions, while you're still frustrated, while you're still tired, while you still don't fully understand what He's doing. And honestly, if you're walking through a season like that right now, I just want you to know you're not alone in that feeling. Because I know how isolating uncertainty can feel sometimes. Especially when life keeps moving around you and internally you still feel emotionally exhausted trying to process everything. But one thing I keep coming back to lately is the reminder that God is still good even when life feels uncertain. Even when prayers don't get answered on your timeline. Even when we fully don't understand what He's doing. Even when we're tired. And I don't say that from a place of having everything figured out either. I'm still learning this in real time, honestly. Still struggling some days, still overthinking some days, still having moments where fear creeps back in. But I think that's why these ordinary moments have become so meaningful to me lately. Because they remind me that life is still happening right now. Not someday when everything finally feels perfect. Not someday when all the uncertainty disappears. Right now. I don't want to miss the life God is still giving us in the middle of this season, just because things still feel uncertain sometimes.
All right, Kimmy.